Hello, friends. When I first moved to this place, I was really full of a lot of ideas and dreams that I'd had from the past. I worked pretty hard to have this space. After a couple years of hard work, I kind of went into a really dark place. I kind of started to think that, like most people throughout the millions of years of history, that I was living in my own little universe that I was never going to share with anybody. All this beauty, all this work, all these dreams. I kind of shared that with a friend of mine, and she surprised me. She said, "That's really beautiful." And what's wrong with that? But I couldn't live with that. I just felt like I had to share. I really just want to share the wonder I've had for the world, even as a kid, and to, recreate the wonder you felt as a child when you could look at a drop of water on a blade of grass in the sunlight and see the whole universe through a prism. Maybe the simple joy of splashing around in a mud puddle in your boots, or the peace of laying in the grass and just being with the earth and watching the clouds change and float overhead and float off from the earth. Sometimes I get caught up in this idea that science and art are different things, but through my work here and my work in the past, I'm always reminded that through sustainability and connections, that those polarities come together and become a unified force. So yeah, I've mentioned a lot about, trying to create a medicinal prairie and a medicinal forest and a medicinal farm. And, what it's really about, though, for me, is the medicine isn't in the plants or the farm or in me or in anybody. It's just the process of creation, the process of connection. What actually heals us is being conscious, or the feeling of the rain as it flies off the ocean and falls out of the sky and splashes all over you. I know a lot of us, myself included, don't really always know where we literally come from. Like, who really knows anything about even really their great grandparents or their parents, or what their heritage is really. I mean, people talk a lot about it and they make up a lot of stories about it. We create a mythology that connects us to our past, that connects us to each other, that connects us to the world. But is that real? We come from the earth. We're going to return to the earth. That's the only thing really we all have in common. That's the only real connection we all have. Don't get me wrong. I, like you, take a lot of comfort on the mythology that I've created for myself about the world and my past and maybe even the future. But, what really brings me joy here is walking by a big chunk of blackberries in flower and listening to the hum of the drone of the bees as they collect the pollen and imagining that that's how the universe sounds, really, if you were to step outside of it. Or, I don't know, laying back in the grass and the fall and enjoying the color of as the leaves change and watching the antics of the finches who are getting drunk on the crab apples and showing off their intoxicating sort of antics and their chatter, and imagining that's how the whole voice of the world, all the people in the world sound if you just phase out a little bit and hear it all together. So whatever, you might think, fuck that hippie. I've heard that all before. But, you can hear it all you want. Until you feel it, you won't have it. Happy New Year. And thanks for watching. Happy New Year to you and your families and your friends and your puppies and your kitties and your chickens and your gardens. But I really want to dedicate this whole endeavor to people that don't have families, or people that have conditional families, or even people that have families that don't or won't see their light.